All right, hey guys, I've got Malcolm and Roseanne with me now. They're going to answer a few questions I've got for them, and it's not often I get another Malcolm on a call. So welcome, guys. Welcome to our chat.
Yeah. Hi, Malcolm.
Hello, Malcolm. Maybe I'll call myself Mal so we don't get confused. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys, you're down in the deep south, so down the bottom of New Zealand, and had a bit of a catch up beforehand just around some family connections we had in a similar place. New Zealand's very small, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's quite funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just yeah, so you've been with us about October, I think, 2023. You jumped on board, obviously saw, some Facebook advertising and had come along to a webinar. And Roseanne, you took the leap and said, "Oh, we're going to do this." And I think Malcolm, you were maybe a little bit more hesitant than Roseanne to
That's
jump on
true.
board. Yeah. So just tell me a little bit about what was going on in your world at that time. So when you sort of decided to jump on board, what was happening?
Okay, so we probably 2 years previous to that, we had shifted from one town to where we are now, and so we were living in a caravan in our daughter's driveway, and so a total of that was 3 years. So we were in the process of building a house, and probably ended up with a mortgage a little bit larger than what we had first hoped for. And we were a bit worried about how we're going to maintain that with the retirement looming up pretty quickly. And yeah, so when I saw your ad on Facebook, it gave me a sense of hope and an encouragement that actually we might be able to smash this down with just changed behaviour and habits, and just getting that whole mindset of the story that we heard from what you were sharing with other people can do it, why can't we? And so yeah, so it was a quick decision, I suppose. And Malcolm, as you said, was really, I'm not sure about this. And I said, well, we've actually got no other avenue at this stage to be able to do it ourselves. And I suppose that's what we've done. We've always done our financial situations on our own. And this is like having a mentor and having someone to come and support us. So we clicked the button and away we went. And then Malcolm had concussion, and that was a 6-month journey. So that was pretty hard for him and us to actually get our heads around that. But in saying that, every week we sat down to the Q&A, and I had a huge spiral bound book, and I would write notes. And so we did that for weeks. And then all the courses I would write notes. So I still have that book, and we look back on it, and it's a really good tool. And then of course and then I had a neck injury last April, so I'm just starting to come right there. So it's taken a long time for us to be able to actually apply all what you're teaching and to get things going. I haven't been able to be on the laptop much or screen time. So a lot of it has been in the head, as in trying to remember things. I haven't been able to we have started an Excel sheet, but it's not what we want it. So it's a work in progress. And but we got our RCF started about 4 months ago, and it's probably only been the last 2 months that we're really starting to bore down on it. And in those last 2 months, we've managed to, the balance or the money available is about $7,000 more than what we would have normally have done. So it's that whole discretionary spending. And yeah, and it's that discipline, and also too, for me, it's that accountability. So yeah, and when I move money from one account to the other, I reference absolutely everything now. And so that gives me that moment, do I really need this? Do I really need to be spending the money on this? And a lot of it was like the cafe and the coffee, but also too, for us, was the Mitre 10, the Bunnings and farmers and the warehouse. So that was a big area of, I don't think I spent all the money in that area, but we were So now going back on reviewing our spending plan, that has diminished quite a lot. And so it's either I can live with what I've got, it's been learning to content with what we have, and I don't have to have everything. So my mindset, I suppose, is unlearning what I already knew and what my parents have taught me and going off their plan. And I suppose it's learning better methods and applying them.
We've always been very careful with our money, but by coming on board here, it's made us more aware where we can save, whereas other times we probably would have just gone and spent that extra little bit of money on certain things, but never been people who are really, you know, splashed out on stuff, but certainly applying better principles now. So yeah, shout out to your team. It's great, you know, so yeah. And the exciting thing now is too, that now I've just turned 65, as I've got my superannuation cut starting to come in. So now we're going to start putting that on hard onto this situation and putting it in the RCF and applying that as well. So for me, that's quite exciting because we'll be able to get some real momentum going.
Which it is exciting because, you know, like even what you were saying before, Rosanna, with, you know, 7,000 that you've sort of put back in the pot effectively that you know, you weren't doing before. I mean, that's awesome. It's relevant to everyone's situation is different, right? Like that's what I would say. And I think what I heard there too is that shift in mindset around the needs versus wants type component, right? Like it doesn't sound like you're living an extravagant lifestyle, but you're also you're not struggling either, right? Like you sort of, you know, like, so you've got the ability to make some changes. And I think that's where a lot of people probably start going, I've got no ability to, you know, have surplus. And for some people, I understand that that's probably true. But then for a lot of people, I find that go through obviously the course modules and I'll teach you and show you things that you can find things where you can save and make some changes, and all of a sudden it just mounts up. It really does. So
certainly does.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I think you had said a statement is like, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And,
that's right.
And that really took hold of me, and we weren't measuring it. But we were loosely, but not tightly. So it was sort of telling us what to do with our money. But now it's reversing, and we're telling our money where it's going to go, and we would yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, nice.
So Malcolm, so obviously a little bit skeptical maybe at the start. There's probably a fair comment, but what was when did the penny drop, or what was the switch in your mindset to actually, you know, this is worthwhile doing or giving it a go? Like it's not just another gimmicky thing out there on the internet. What was the switch for you?
I think the switch for me, Malcolm, was when I realised, you know, like pulling all your money together in the RCF, how it actually started to impact on the interest rate, you know, for your mortgage side of things, and so that really sort of woke me up, you know. I could actually see how we can make some quick progress on this, as opposed to not being involved, you know. Otherwise, we would just not make this sort of inroads. So there really wasn't any other option. You know, it was pretty concrete to me that, hey, look, we needed to get on board and, you know, start doing this. So, yeah.
And
sorry.
And I think, you know, when we first came on, there was only about 200 or 300 people in the Facebook. And now there's 1.1, I think, thousand. So, you know, it's and when we first went in there, we were like, oh my goodness, you know, this is such a small group. Is this legit? You know, you really had those doubts in your mind for a start off. And but we just, I don't know, we just decided to carry on. And of course, because of our health issues, we're thinking, oh my goodness, this is only available to us for a whole year. Well, we've mentioned quite a few times, you know, it is extended, you know, it's not just for the year because every situation is different. So that gave us incredible comfort. And hearing other people's stories, that's really encouraging. It really is. Because I don't post on Facebook. And when we had such a good run with the bank Westpac with RCF, I just had to share my experience that, you know, yes, obviously there's a lot of people out there who are struggling with the banks and are pushing back, and but in our experience, and I think we had everything written down, and Malcolm and I had discussed how we wanted this discussion to go. So we were prepared, and with what we learnt in the courses, you know, I'd had a letter already written out, and then changed it to our situation. So that was really good. And I think listening to your courses and the Q&As, it just encouraged us. And yeah, so we're doing things that we've never done before in our mindset, I suppose, in our spending money. But yeah.
So we don't you know, we don't discount small beginnings, right? Like, you know, then that's effectively it. You know, talking a bit about community and how that's sort of grown. And so for everybody that is maybe not aware of what we're talking about with what we do in Kiwi Money School, not only are we providing, you know, course material and coaching Q&A on a Monday night, but we've also got a Facebook group where it's community based, it's closed, it's only members of Kiwi Money School are in there, and but they're sharing stories. So, I mean, just tell me a bit about your community experience. I mean, have you, what's been really beneficial for you? Yeah.
Well, I think for me is hearing other people's stories when they say, oh, they're nearly at retirement age. And it's like, oh, okay, how are they doing things? You know, yeah. So it's people of similar, I suppose, age and how they do that. And so you know, I used to write down what they used to say, you know, sort of, and so I used to go back and read that. And, you know, if they can do it, we can do it. And we're doing it, yeah. And we're, yeah, but it does, it takes energy, and it takes time, and it takes commitment to, right, we need to put this evening aside to be able to sit down and do this. And
so it was quite exciting the other night. We sort of jumped on board and did our spreadsheet a bit and just tried to calculate exactly how much we're sort of inroads we're making, you know, and we were talking figures like 3,000 or 4,000 per month. So, you know, and that's without really pushing yet. So, you know, it's looking really bright for us if we really kick on and start, you know, applying the principles in a tighter way. And you know, we're quite excited about it. So we would never have been saving that sort of money or those sort of figures. You know, we might be saving 1,000 or whatever, but not something like 3,000 or 4,000. So, you know, you multiply that over so many months, it starts to stack up to some good dollars, you know. So, yeah, that's exciting.
and
Oh,
it's really
that is exciting. It gives me the goosebumps when I hear that stuff. It honestly does, because it's just, it's amazing, you know. Like that's when you're explaining it that way, it's like 4 times quicker than what you were doing before, type thing, and it gives you that, because I think a lot of people, and I'm sure I can talk openly to you guys. I mean, when you're people that are you know, reaching retirement, right? If things haven't quite gone to plan, or maybe you don't have a plan, it can be pretty stressful, right? Would you say that's fair? Because you start to worry about things or get a bit concerned about working and how long do I have to work for? It's that element behind it as well. And so you know, it's encouraging to hear your story, because others, once again, will listen to this too and go, oh, actually, there is some hope here. I can do things differently. And whilst you might not have the debt entirely paid off by the time you hit 65, imagine where you would be if you weren't doing something like this, you know, and got things under control. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. No, we unfortunately not where we wanted to be, I suppose, in our first, you know, when we first got married, you know, and you think when you retire, you want to be debt free. We sold up and quite a few years ago and did a bus trip with our family. And so by the time we did that and then came back to sell the bus, we actually lost quite a bit of money. And, you know, and when we look back, we've rented probably a bit longer than what we wanted to rent for different various reasons. And we have owned other homes and things like that. And we also had another investment that we took on, which we actually get money in every month anyway, and that was about 20 years ago. But we can't borrow on that money. So that's probably tightened up our finances where we weren't able to use. And but yeah, it's been a good step for us. Very good.
Pity we didn't know about it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
If I had a dollar for every time I've heard that, Malcolm, I'd be a wealthy man, a wealthier man. Hey, so I guess just closing off then, like what would you say to the person sitting here, perhaps watching a webinar or just, listening to this discussion about, thinking about joining and jumping on board with us? What would you say to that person? Like, if, like, is it worth it? Is it worthwhile doing this? I think it is, but I just want to hear it from you guys.
Yeah, I think, no matter what you're earning, sometimes you hear these figures of some people who are on bigger incomes, and so they're making bigger inroads than what possibly you might be making. So we're not on big salaries or anything like that, only average sort of thing. So if we can do it and start, getting out some figures like this, then I encourage you to get on board, no matter where you are or no matter what income you're earning. You'll always find a way of start to make inroads. And if you're not involved in something like this, then what inroads are you going to make? What other options are there? So and the banks certainly won't help you in that way. They're out to make some money, and fair enough, they've got to make money. But at the end of the day, we've got to think about ourselves as well. Heading towards retirement and stuff like this, then the more that you can pay down before you get there, the greater it is. So through my experience, I just say get on board as early as you can, and just keep at it, and you'll certainly make great inroads.
Very good, very good. And I guess one last question: have you had to change your lifestyle a lot, like to start getting the results you're talking about? Have you had to make major changes?
No, not really.
Not really. What I've done is, like, we used to go out and have a coffee and things like that. So I make my coffee now, and I'm a little bit better at doing the milk frothing, and I grate some dark chocolate on top. And so, that's made my coffee at home quite good.
And I must admit, it tastes pretty good to the real thing. So we probably have more coffees at home now. Not that we have a lot out, but we were getting into a bit of a habit. And this has sort of tightened us up a bit by being involved and starting to analyse things a bit closer. So it's all good.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for just joining us for a few minutes, and just to give us a bit of insight as to what's happening with your experience. And to summarize, I guess, in some ways, it's like, for everyone listening that maybe isn't sure if they can make changes, and you've got some hurdles in front of you, and like the great encouraging story that actually take the punt, do something different, because if you don't, nothing's ever going to change. You're always going to be doing the same thing. But then by doing that and actually getting, really good quality coaching and instructions, hold your hand, support and so forth, and a great community around you, obviously you've got to do some of the work though too, but what a great result. What an awesome sort of thing, and so really proud of you and what you've done there too. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're proud of what you're doing for others.
Yeah. Oh, thanks so much. Warms my heart again. So yeah.